big fan of your podcast. I watched and listened to most of it, so it's really weird to be involved. So yes, hello, I'm Andy.
Oh, thanks a lot. That's great to hear. So Andy, tell us all about everything that you've got for sale for Boycie. There's a lot going, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. So we've got, I think Boycie's got about 100 lots in the sale. We were contacted by his family months and months ago, and they've got all of this kind of additional stuff and items from his collection. And my favourite thing is, of course, he was known for Only Fools and Horses as Boycie, of course, but he's got loads of other stuff as well. I think one of my favourite things is he's got a guitar that was given to him by Rick Parfitt of Status Quo, which is quite cool, and that's an unusual thing. It's not necessarily an Only Fools and Horses related thing, but that's a pretty special bit of rock and roll memorabilia as well.
Yeah, and I'm just looking in your background. You've got so many things I want to talk about. I mean, you've got the dolphin there, Trigger's dolphin, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we've got Trigger's dolphin. I mean, if you want me to grab something and bring it closer, I'm more than happy to. Yeah, that's
probably everything.
That's Trigger's
Please do. Are these, Andy, sorry, are these props that were actually used? Is that like the original Jolly Boys out in Dolphin there, or?
Yep. So we've got a mixture of stuff in the sale. So we've got a lot of replica ones, but we've also got some genuine show, screen, production used props. So that is Trigger's actual dolphin. The one, if you go watch the Jolly Boys outing, that's his dolphin. Of course, he says he lost it in real life. He didn't. He kept it, and it stayed with him for many, many, many years. And now it's up for sale. But yeah, no, that is the actual one, and I love it because it's all that you can just imagine. A member of the production crew feeding a dolphin. They run around to one of those kind of shacks, probably buy the dolphin for a couple of quid, blow it up, and they film with it. And so that's all it was ever meant to be. It's only ever meant to last, I don't know, what, a holiday, so a week or so. And here it is, some 30 odd years later, still looking good, and it's still a really special thing.
It's amazing it's not popped, like you say, 35 years old.
I know. I mean, somebody has conserved it by filling it with like expanding foam, because it does have a few holes in it, but you know, I guess Trigger didn't look after it too well. So
you can't tell, really. So Emily, what would you like to ask about in the background?
I would like to have ask about the van door. Is it the van door?
Oh, the van door. So the van doors are genuinely amazing. You have to see them in real life. They're made specifically for Only Fools and Horses fans. They're made from the original molds of Reliant Regal vans, and they're for like mounting on the wall and stuff. The one we've got that you can see, so that's actually signed by David Jason and a lot of the cast that were at the 40th anniversary convention. Was that last year? And that's a really special thing. Like, it's completely unique. But you have to see it in real life to appreciate how amazing it is. It's bright and it's like, it just pops off of the wall. It's like, they're genuinely amazing pieces of artwork.
Yeah, and Chris has got one. Come on, Chris, show us yours.
I'm just talking there, Andy. I've got one. They're made by, I'm sure you know him, don't you? Neil Huckle, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yep, that's right. It's not a competition, but you know, you've got that in yours.
I'll double dare you. Yeah.
You've got a bar as well. Look at that. That's amazing.
Yeah, so I've got quite a collection. Yeah, we're on about your collection now, aren't we?
I think you can just, can you see the bar? No, wrong side. Got a bar just there, and that one's also signed as well. But it's perfect stuff for like a man cave. You know, you've got yourself a banging man cave there, and for anybody that wants to replicate what you've got, they need to get all this stuff.
Chris will probably add to his collection, probably.
He probably will, yeah. I'm looking now, Andy. I'm looking over your shoulder. If I was thinking, what shall I buy? That alarm clock's appealing to me there, or the sunburst clock.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favourite things about the stuff that we've got for sale and the stuff that is in Del Boy's flat is that back then in the 80s and 90s, it really was tap. It was stuff you could pick up like bric-a-brac for a couple of pounds. But now, I mean, sunburst clocks. I mean, obviously that's connected to the show. But even those sunburst clocks are now really in fashion. And like a lot of the things that Del Boy sold are now actually quite rare and actually quite collectible. And I kind of love that it's gone full circle and that Del Boy in some way was ahead of his time in terms of things being retro and collectible and rare. So I love that it's kind of gone full circle.
Yeah, and you mentioned things that are very collectible. The cookie jar, you know, I mean, that's costs a bomb now, doesn't it, Chris?
I would say they start what, Andy? About £350, do they, unsigned?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they are, you know, they were made in the like the 1960s, 1970s, something like that. They're so hard to come by these days. I mean, we actually have the actual one from the show used in every single series. One of the actual ones from the show. I can show it to you, but it's worth more than my job. And to handle it, I'm petrified of dropping it or smashing it or something like that. So that one's safely locked away. But
could you sort of comment on what starting bid that would be? I would think you're talking 10,000s, are you? 5-figure sum or not?
You could do my job. Yes, you're spot on.
Yeah.
The estimate on it is £8,000 to £12,000, and it's one of those things that's near impossible to value because it's basically another cast member from the show. You know, if you go watch series 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through, that cookie jar, that lion cigar jar was on every single series, and I don't really know how you value it. That will either appeal to thousands and thousands of people, but I'm not sure how many people will be able to afford it. But that's such a special piece of memorabilia. Yeah, I don't know what it's going to go for, but that's kind of our rough guesstimate estimate is £8,000 to £1,200. No, £12,000.
That'd be such a buzz. Oh no, I've told you to that first price now. No, it'd be such a buzz owning that, wouldn't it? Though, you know, you could say that on that telly there. That's the one that I own. Yeah, that'd be amazing to own that.
You know, the stuff we're selling is a replica, and they're not unique. There's a couple of them around, and you know, for the die-hard Only Fools and Horses fans, what's better than, you know, having a party or somebody come around and going, oh, that's the one off of Only Fools and Horses. You go, yeah. But that is the actual one off of Only Fools and Horses. That is the one that David Jason and Nicholas Linda's touched. That makes it extra special. And I think that's just completely unique. And what an amazing talking point for anyone to have.
Definitely.
I'm looking at props there on the bar. Is that the phone from T for 3, Andy, there? The car phone?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is, yep. So this is the one that's the car phone that they don't have. When they'll get sent up, and this one is signed by David Jason as well. It's not the actual one from the show, but it's the exact make and model.
Exact same one.
But yeah, quite a cool thing to have. Everyone sees that and they smile. It's really great.
You just think of that one scene, don't you? That's the thing with the paragliding. That's what you think of. Hand gliding.
There's so many things that I love that, you know, if it wasn't connected to Only Fools and Horses, would be meaningless. But there are things here we have. You know, we've got a display here, and there's more that you can't see to my other side. But people just look at things and smile, and it's even things you probably can't see it because I don't think it's out. But we've got Mike's hairdryer. I tell you what, say that. I'll bring it back.
You say hairdryer, but it wasn't a hairdryer, was it? In the end,
paint stripper.
Paint stripper. But yeah, if you saw that on a tool bench, it wouldn't mean anything. But this one's signed by David Jason, and everyone that they know the joke. It's like they're ahead of the game, and I think that's just so amazing. But to answer a question, because I wasn't sure about this myself, it actually is an industrial paint stripper, not a hairdryer. It actually is in real life an industrial paint stripper. So yeah, I'll go pop it back.
I think that's the interesting thing with the items, though, isn't it? There's a story behind each item, like Andy's just said about the paint stripper, isn't there, Andy? And the phone is, you think of T for 3, and the story behind every prop there, isn't there, really? And memory.
There is. And you know, a lot of these things were famous from Only Fools and Horses when it was in its prime, and they were getting, you know, 20, 25 million viewers. And some of these things were responsible for making 21 million people laugh. And over the years, if you factor in all the repeats and the DVDs, we're probably close to like 150, 200 million people have laughed at some of these things. And that's just such a wonderful thing to be able to look at something that's made that many people laugh and be able to hold it. I think it's really special. It's the best part of my job.
Yeah, I mean, this must be a dream at the moment for you. You're obviously a fan yourself, are you?
It is. I mean, I grew up watching Only Fools and Horses, as did so many other people. I never thought for a second that in my adult life that I would be able to handle and you know, get to sell off and off all of these special things. It's really quite special. Can
you buy anything, Andy, or is that a bit not allowed? Could you buy?
I wish I could. That's the
Yeah.
the naughtiest thing you can do whilst working in an auction house. So no,
Yeah.
well, I'll be honest,
So, Andy, we should mention you're from East Bristol Auctions, aren't you? So this is
I am.
where it's going to be happening. Is it this Friday? I think Chris said.
it is, yeah, this Friday, so December the 2nd. I can't believe we're at Christmas already. December the 2nd, we start at midday. The website is bid.eastbristol.co.uk. But if anyone's local, you can come along to the sale room and sit down and have a bid yourself as well. Mind how you wave your arms and don't scratch your bum, otherwise you might come away with some broken lawnmower engines or something like that.
Yeah.
So are you near where it was filmed? Sorry, Andy, because it was filmed in Bristol, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we're unsurprisingly based in the east of Bristol. We are, I think, Whitemead House, Nelson Mandela House is, I think, about a 12-minute car journey away.
Wow.
We're right by the Batman and Robin alleyway. Well, it was an alleyway. I think they built something now. That's about 8 minutes away from us. And Bristol is very proud of its connection with Only Fools and Horses. You know, you can drive anywhere in the city. You can pretty much drive past a filming location or something like that. My favourite thing is people don't realise that there's filming locations in Bristol. And when they do and you point them out, they kind of go, oh my God, I can't believe it. And, you know, the part in Cabot Circus, which used to have the old Granada TV shop where the van breaks down in Heroes and Villains. That's right in the centre of town. We're about 12-15 minutes drive away from there. And that's a really iconic thing. Every time I go shopping in town now, I go out there and I go, that's where Del and Rodney broke down dressed as Batman and Robin. There's a huge connection to the city. And of course, as well, John Challis was actually born in Bristol, which isn't a fact people tend to know, but he was born here as well. So there's a multitude of connections to Bristol, which is why we tend to feel really honoured to do it, because it's like the show has come home. And that feels really kind of, there's something humbling about that, and there's something really true about that. So we're honoured that we get to do it.
And as we've talked about before, in Bristol, they do the ethnic tours as well, don't they? Of the locations.
Yeah, that's right. You can get the filming locations, and you can go and see Boycie and Marlene's house, and I think the bar where Del Boy falls through the bar as well. Yeah, you can go and do that. There's a few kind of enterprises based around Only Fools and Horses. I think I saw some artwork for sale on you know, like a street stall a few weeks back at the Christmas market. There is a real connection to Bristol, and it's lovely. I love it.
Lovely jubbly. And Emily, what did you want to ask a minute ago?
That radio behind you, is that from Rodney Come Home?
That's Denzel's Ghetto Blaster.
Oh, is it?
Oh yeah, I remember now. Yeah.
You see him with it in a few episodes. I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember what episode it's in. I've got a feeling it actually might be in Heroes and Villains. I think.
I tell you what it is. I tell you what it is in, Andy. It's in As One Door Closes, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
You know, with the butterfly.
Yes, of course it is.
Yeah.
You've got your money.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
Oh yeah. Well, sad, good or sad. Yeah.
Can I tell you guys something really special?
Yes.
Awesome. Stay there. Just take my mic off a sec. So this is an actual bottle of Peckham Spring from Mother Nature's Son, one of the actual ones that they used.
Wow.
And I wanted to talk to you about it because it's been in a lot of the newspapers. I think we've been on TV with it, and that's great. And they want like the kind of general story, you know, what is it? How did you get it? All that kind of stuff. But for proper Only Fools and Horses fans, I just wanted to show how detailed this prop actually is. So first of all, it's an actual glass bottle of water. So they must have just gone and bought some Buxton, and then they've manufactured this label to go over it. And the label on the back has all of the little things that Dale says about it in the episode. So first of all, it's Swans approved. I'll try and get closer to it. Can you see just there? Hang on, just there.
Oh, yeah.
So it's Swans approved, which I think is a lovely joke. And then you've also got that it's Peckham Spring water drawn from an ancient and natural source. So it's got all of the little lines in it from the famous episode. And I just think that the attention to detail, it's even got the kind of composition of the mineral water on it. You can see all of the facts.
Chloride.
I mean, not for a single second do I believe that Del Boy would have been so thorough. But I just think that the attention to detail on something that is seen on screen for seconds in faraway shots, I just think is incredible. And I just wanted to share that with you because I haven't been able to share it with anybody else, because nobody other than hardcore Only Fools and Horses fans cares about the detail. But there's so much detail in there. I think it's amazing. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that one.
It is, because you wouldn't need to do it, would you? Because it's not going to be seen, is it, on the telly, the detail?
Exactly.
No. So
we sell quite a lot of props from different TV shows and films and stuff, and they're very rarely detailed like that. That is, for all intents and purposes, if you walked into a supermarket and saw that on the shelf, you wouldn't look twice at it. It literally fits in just like any other bottle. And I think that's so superb that the attention to detail on television at that time was that good. That's why I think that's really special, because it's not just an iconic prop, but it's got all of the little jokes in it as well. And that's so cool.
There can't be many of them around either, Andy, is there? From the show?
So depending on who you speak to, there's you get a few different numbers thrown out. We believe there are something like between 200 and 300 made for production. And if you were one of the lucky people that went to sit in the studio audience that night,
you got one.
They didn't give everybody a bottle, but they certainly gave a lot of people a bottle away.
Wow.
I think there's about 7 or 8 that are known to exist. Somewhere out there are probably 100 or so others that just haven't come to light. I suspect some of them have got smashed. I suspect some of them have thrown away. So they're pretty rare. I know of only a handful that exist. Very few have ever come up for auction. I think one came up, last year sometime, which is the first time one has come up for sale for about 10 years or so. And, you know, back in the day, before Only Fools and Horses became so popular, they were worth comparatively, you know, a couple of £100, maybe, something like that. But that one there is expected to fetch £6,000 to £8,000. I'm almost certain it's going to sell for more than that. There's so much interest in it. But again, another thing, harking back to what I said earlier, Del Boy was ahead of his time. That's a glass bottle. It's a glass bottle. How many times do we hear politicians and governments and councils now saying you have to have glass bottles? So good old Del Boy was ahead of his time once again.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great episode.
Yeah.
I actually re-watched it the other day just so I could familiarise myself with it. Yeah, fab. It's one of the most iconic episodes.
The Carlsberg thing's from the Nag's Head, of course, isn't it? Just over to your right, I think, Andy. There, that's from the Nag's Head.
That's right. That's one. I think you can see it. I can't remember what episode. I think it's in a few episodes, because they would have filmed. They would have kept the Nag's Head the same set for several different episodes in the series, as I'm sure you guys know. So I think probably appeared in a couple of episodes. But again, that's one of those things. It's just like a fairly common object, but has a deeper meaning when it's attached to the show.
Yeah, and people wouldn't have realised all those years ago that it would be worth anything now. That, like you were saying about the bottles of water, they wouldn't have known. I don't think many would have survived.
No, not at all. I mean, you know, that's got to be the most expensive bottle of water in Great Britain at the moment.
Yeah.
Episode, I think Del Boy's, I want to say he's charging, it's either 25p or 45p. That won't buy you anything these days. So it's quite of its time as well. But I love it. I think it's so iconic that I hope that finds a really good home with a really good fan that really appreciates it.
Most expensive item you expect to be the cookie jar, Andy, or is there anything more expensive, would you say?
No, so the cookie jar is the highest estimated item. However, with an auction, as we know from Only Fools and Horses itself, anything can happen. That is the highest estimated item. I think that probably will be the highest fetching item, but you never know. The Peckham Spring bottle wouldn't surprise me if it went way over the odds. It's had so much interest and so much publicity that we just don't know. It's all to play for on the day.
I think Trigger's Dolphin will go for a lot. That's just what I think, because it's one of a kind, isn't it? You know.
It really is, and people tend to love Trigger. He was just one of those iconic comedy characters, and also, of course, it's from the Jolly Boys outing. Jolly Boys outing. You go and ask most Only Fools and Horses fans, they will say that is their favourite episode, and that's, you know, anything from that episode just is so popular and so sought after. There are fans out there that will pay thousands and thousands of pounds for that, and I'm sure it will. I hope you're right. I hope it swings off to someone who's going to love it. But it is so iconic and so special, even though it's just on screen for a matter of seconds.
What price on that, Andy? I know it's difficult. What sort of starting bid have you got on that?
£5,000 to £6,000. I think that one is.
Wow.
I think it will do that, if I'm honest, because that's lovely.
Lovely Jubbly, yeah. And what's nice about your auction is you've also got smaller items that aren't worth a lot of money that fans can still get involved in, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so last year we did the official 40th anniversary auction. And what we've always been really keen of, especially when we do these quite high profile sales, is we want something for every pocket. You know, times are hard. Not every Only Fools and Horses fan has got thousands of pounds to sell. You know, we've got lots down in like the 10, 15, 20 pound range so that fans can grab something from the sale without breaking the bank. We've got lots of signed pictures. There's various bits of memorabilia that are, you know, in like the 50 to 100 pound bracket as well. So we've got something for everyone. We've got we've got modern merchandise in there. So there's a company called Big Chief Studios that makes kind of vinyl figures. We've got some of those that have been signed specially for us as well. So this really is something for everyone. You don't have to have £10,000 to buy Del Boy's cigar jar. You can, 30 quid will buy you something. And we're really always really keen to kind of say that, you know, we're an auction house. It's high profile, but we really do have something for every pocket and every budget as well.
I noticed behind you there's the little cat statue from A Touch of Glass.
Yep.
Does it actually sing?
So it does. Hang on, I'll go grab it for you.
Oh, brilliant. We're like kids in a candy shop, you know.
Yeah.
This is actually one of my favourite items. So it's like a resin cat on a wooden base, and this one's signed by David Jason as well. But it has got a fully working clockwork mechanism, and if you wind it up, I'll wind it up now, but I'll move out of the way because it doesn't stop going for about 10 minutes or so. It does play. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much is that doggy in the window?
It really does play. How much is that doggy in the window? Which is just the most incredible thing. No, I love that. And that's something that is that's iconic. But again, it's not going to necessarily break the bank. I think something like £300 will pick that up for you, and that's a bit of fun. And I love it. It's one of my favourite things in the sale.
It makes it unique that it sings that, as Del would say.
It does, but it's also part of the joke as well. Can you still hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear it. Yeah.
It's not too loud. It's not too loud. I could see the apron. I mean, my eyes are scanning everything. The apron there, isn't it? Is that Strangers on the Shore when he makes Gary the curry, isn't it?
Strangers on the Shore, and that's signed by, you probably can't see it on there. That's signed by Tessa Peak Jones, Raquel, and David Jason Del Boy, and they both put the line on there. So David Jason, one for the pot, Kushti, and Tessa Peak Jones has written, "I thought I could smell something." So it's really nice. It just makes it completely unique, and again, it's a bit of fun. And you know, it's not. I wouldn't say it was cheap, but it's a unique kind of display. But it's also something, you know, you could wear that, and on a fun evening with your friends, something like that, they're gonna love that. And I think that's what I love about that is that something you could use. I'm not saying you necessarily want to, because it's, you know.
I cook a lot of Indian food, so possibly, yeah.
Perfect. Exactly, perfect. There you go. I'll take your bid after this.
Yeah, give me a number.
Is it the original, Andy, or is that sort of a same replica?
No, so that's a replica one. The original, I'm not sure the original exists, if I'm honest, or if it does, I don't know where it is. But no, so that's one. I think the company made them back in the early 2000s, and I think they're quite hard to find, but you can find the apron. It's a replica, but it's signed.
Yeah.
It comes on a mannequin with the shirt and the cap as well. It's just like a display. And in the corner of a room, it's actually really eye-catching, because you think there's someone stood there, and you go, "Oh, there's Del Boy," but it's not. It's just this mannequin display. But yeah, no, it's a replica. That one is.
Have you got one of the nose cones? I love the nose cones as well. You can get the front of the van. Have you got any of those for sale on the day?
We've got one. Yeah, it's all singing, all dancing. That is genuinely spectacular. They're so well made, and I think it's got catchphrases on it, and it lights up and plays all the theme tunes from the show as well. But that's something to be seen in person like that. Every single time I've seen one in real life, I'm blown away by how good they are. And ours is signed by David Jason as well, which makes it even rarer. You know, they're really nice. They are spectacular. If anyone hasn't seen it, just go on the catalogue and have a look, or come along. It just has to be seen to be viewed. You have that on your wall, you're going to be the talk of the town.
Yeah. And also John Challis did a bit, he was an author as well, wasn't he? He wrote books, and there's some books from him that are signed, aren't there?
Yeah, so some of the things that are really nice from the John Challis collection are, we've got a lot of his like handwritten notes There's a couple of lots in particular. Is a stage show that he did with Sue Holderness, obviously, who played Marley. And we've got all of his kind of like handwritten notes and his little prompts on his script that would, you know, remind him of where they were, of what they were talking about next, and where they were going with the show next. But he was actually quite a prolific writer. So we've got both copies of his autobiography, one of which we've got, I think, a couple of chapters that he hand wrote. So it looks to me like he probably hand wrote his autobiography and then somebody typed it up for him. And we've got a couple of those chapters that were handwritten. He wrote his novels as well, Reggie, kind of like almost like P.G. Wodehouse style novels there. We've got some of the original artwork from the front cover of his novel. We've got loads of things. And for me personally, it's those human things, those things that he used that are actually really, really special. You know, we've got loads and loads of scripts and a couple of props from the Green Grass, and they're fantastic because you can see those on screen. You can go and watch the episode and you can see those there. But to me, it's the things that he hand wrote, or the things that he touched and made, that are actually really, really special.
The being Boycie as well, the book, is that like a display of the promotion of his book there, is it to you?
Yeah,
like a poster of the book?
We've got a set of about 8 of these. So these are his own personal banners. So whenever he go do a book signing, or go do a talk about his book, he'd prop those up. And we've got about 5 or 6 different variations of them, and they're great because, you know, they are part of his later years connected with Only Fools and Horses. I've always said for a very, very long time that the success of Only Fools and Horses in the last 20 years, it wouldn't be as successful if it wasn't for John Challis. John Challis was always the one doing the interviews on the news, always the one on the documentaries, always the one promoting it and pushing it and pushing it. And I think a lot of the success of the show is actually down to John Challis. And these were part of his tools to enable him to do that. And I think it's really special to have them. You know, they're quite large items, but and they won't sell for a huge amount of money because they're quite large. But they're really important to the history of the show. They are.
Oh yeah. It's a great legacy, isn't it, that he's left behind? I saw him in East Grinstead, my town, at Checkermead Theatre, and he was doing his tour of being Boycie. It was a great evening, and afterwards, you know, he was meeting everybody and having a chat, and just a lovely bloke, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was always, you know, he was always happy for selfies and videos and autographs and things like that. I was lucky. I met him several times when I was younger, and he was always an absolute gentleman. And for me personally, you know, I was completely honoured to be able to sit there and go through some of his collection and raise some money. I should say as well, so everything from the John Challis estate is raising money for 3 charities that he supported. So the more that people bid, the more money those charities get. So it is all for a good cause, the items from the John Challis estate. So I'm hoping people would dig deep for an absolute gentleman, someone who helped the series thrive and survive, someone who everybody in the country knows. I hope they dig deep for him.
Yeah, and with the best laugh ever, the best comedy laugh ever, without a doubt.
Definitely. And he was never shy of doing it, from what I remember. He'd always whip out the Boycie cackle.
I think he accidentally come across that, didn't he? He just did a laugh on one episode. I think John Sullivan wrote Boycie's laugh, and he said, "What laugh?" And they had to re-look at the previous episode, and they sort of grew, didn't it? A bit like the Dave, wasn't it, with Trigger? With Trigger.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's information to me, so thank you. You know, I didn't know that. But again, that's part of the charm of Only Fools and Horses, because I know, you know, John Sullivan was never a trained writer. This stuff just came from his heart and from his soul. And so many of those famous little touches that grew kind of, that grew out of the show. What's the word I'm after? They grew like organically.
Yeah.
The actors that were performing those parts. I think that's just so lovely. And I think that's why the show is so special, because it's true and it's human. And to have something like Boycie's laugh just become one of the things that happened by accident, I just think that's wonderful.
Yeah. And before you go, can you remind us when the auction is happening and how people can get involved and where?
So the auction happens on Friday, December the 2nd. We start at midday. It's broadcast live online across various bidding websites. But if you go to our website, which is bid.eastbristol.co.uk, that's going to be the main place to watch it there. If you live locally, or even if you live further afield, come on down to the sale room as well. You can come and watch the proceedings, watch the fun, and hopefully have a bit of fun as well. These days are always great for us. We are, all of myself and the staff are all fans of the show. And so come down, have a laugh, come and say hello, come and have a look around, come and have a look at some of the stuff as well. You know, you can come and look at a bottle of Peckham Spring. You might not be able to afford to buy it, but you can come and have a look.
Just don't drop it.
Please don't drop it. Please don't drop it. This is, again, really special, but it's something that, because I think the Peckham Spring overshadowed it, this is really special. So this is the actual cheque from the episode Heroes and Villains that Councillor Murray gives to the Trotters. That's the actual one seen on screen. And it's made out to D Trotter for £5,000, and it's signed by Councillor Murray. And that comes in a display there from the episode with all 3 signatures there, Buster, Nick and David as well. And that's so special. That's, you know, that's responsible for an entire plot of one of the most famous episodes. And I think that deserves a bit of attention. So I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, Andy. Sorry we've run out of time, but it's been lovely to speak to you, and thanks for showing us everything.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Hope it goes well, Andy. Good luck. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Bye bye, guys.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, great. Thanks.